Hello there! And welcome to this week's episode of the Everything is Fine podcast. I am your host, Sean Wilson.
And I'm your host, Matt Ebersol.
And joining us this week, we have a very special guest, my good friend and roommate, Connor.
Woo! Hello, my name's Connor. I'm Sean's roommate.
Yes,
We have
name dropped Connor a couple times. This is a very anticipated...
The man, the myth, the legend, as previously told.
Yes.
On this show.
So this is episode 3 of the Everything is Fine podcast, and it's our first ever guest spot. Connor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
Yes, so tell us a little bit about yourself before our main topic starts and you start ridiculing us about Star Wars.
So I'm interested in many of the same things as Sean and Matt. I also love film. It was once my childhood dream that I gave up on because you have to live in California to be successful in it. But I did want to once edit film. That's why I know how to do basic editing, because I took high school courses and such on it. But I love movies. I disagree with Matt and Sean greatly, but I love them.
Yes, and if you're curious, Connor was the one that taught Sean and I how to edit our very minimally needed to be edited videos.
Right. True.
So
we owe every single bit of our production to him.
Yes.
But even so, we finally have him on the show, and he'll be back for many episodes, and of course, this is the first of many. He'll be here for Star Wars, he'll be here for a couple of specialized topics in the future, and I am waiting for the long-talked-about D&D Spotlight episode.
Yes, where I will be either absent completely or here but never once speak, because I'll just let you two go off.
But those are far off on the horizon. Tonight, we talk about the infamous Star Wars prequels.
Yes, we have a full slate tonight. So we're going to be talking about the Star Wars prequels, our varying opinions about them, and varying is to put it lightly, our opinions vary. And then our very first ever segment of Bloodbath, which is the speed debate segment where Sean and I are going to go head-to-head arguing over various topics that are going to be introduced to us by Connor.
Because I love blood.
Yes, and he also hates the prequels, but he likes...
So he was naturally the best person to call on for a discussion about the prequels.
Yes, we instantly knew that this was the one that he needed to be on first, because... And also, our first 2 episodes, Sean and I, for the most part, have agreed on most of what we're talking about.
So it was high time that we tried to kill each other.
You needed someone that disagreed with you.
True.
That's very true.
I think the 3 of us represent the full spectrum of the stances on the prequels. Matt, you love the prequels.
Love is a strong word.
That you've used.
I enjoy watching them, though.
You enjoy the prequels.
Yes, I do.
Connor
enjoy
hates
the
prequels.
Like sand, yeah.
And I kind of just, I like them. And I'm just in the middle. I know that they're not great, but I like a few of them. So we represent the full end of the spectrum.
Sorry.
Matt just spit out his water at that remark.
No, it's because Connor said Connor doesn't like them, and then he said like sand. It's like what? Okay.
He's already in the spirit of tonight. But even before we get into the topic tonight, we've had a very interesting week for pop culture. Just a couple hours ago from when we're recording this, Avatar Studios was announced. So the showrunners behind the work of art that is Avatar: The Last Airbender have ditched the Netflix adaptation that was rumored to be.
They did that
produced.
A while ago.
Yeah, they ditched it a while ago.
That was canned a bit.
They ditched it a while ago, but they came out today and said, "Hey, Nickelodeon said that we're good to tell more stories in the Avatar universe, prequels, sequels, movies, whatever they want." And I couldn't be more excited.
Nickelodeon saw the raw numbers that Netflix is getting off of The Last Airbender and Korra, and they're like, "Cool, have your own studio."
Yeah,
just take it.
And it's high time they had it. There's some of the Avatar is one of the greatest shows to ever come out of Nickelodeon.
It's saying that Avatar Studios will be able to produce content for platforms including Paramount Plus, which is a new streaming service.
Oh, great.
Nickelodeon, and also third-party platforms and theatrical releases. That's what they're currently...
So we're talking like films.
We're talking films as well, I believe, which is interesting. I've never been a huge fan of Airbender. I've seen episodes, and I've also seen the finale. I watched most of the last season, but it's never been a show that I love, but I get the gist. Like, I enjoy it. You two, though,
I would die.
love that show.
I would die for that show.
So this is much more up your alley. So I'm happy for y'all. That's very exciting. And
I definitely need
to get around to watching the whole thing because I know it's on Netflix.
It is a work of art that everyone should experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've heard nothing but good things about it. I don't think I've met a single person that doesn't like that show. So
that's the beauty of it. Like,
Yeah.
so when you talk about Star Wars, blood is drawn. When you talk about Avatar, everyone is happy.
Yes.
well, yeah, I mean, but Star Wars, it's just it's so
Controversial.
jumbled and everything.
Avatar's not.
Yeah, and then also coming out soon is the new Disney movie, Raya and the Last Dragon, I believe is the name of it, which Connor's very excited about. Do you want to tell us why you're?
They've
excited
either
about it?
tricked me with their marketing, or this is going to be one of the best Disney films that's ever been made. The animation we know is good, just based off the trailer, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be, I think that you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the first film animated at home because of COVID. So for at least a year of production, it was animated at home. That's based on one YouTube behind-the-scenes video I watched. It just looks like a great D&D campaign. You have different...
And that is why we're excited.
Yeah, you have you have different party members. You have a main character that seems interesting. You have a fantasy world, a whole world that they made, with a really cool map. If you looked at it, it was like the continents were all around. The sea is like in the shape of a dragon, right? There's a cool mythology behind it. All of that sounds amazing. And because Disney hasn't come out with many original films in the last decade, I think this could be it.
Yeah, I mean, most of their films have been... they made Wreck-It Ralph 2, and then they made a Rapunzel movie, and it's like that's already based off an original material. They made a Winnie the Pooh movie. They did Frozen 2.
Right.
God knows my opinions on that movie, which we'll get to that eventually. I believe... Yes, how Raya and the Last Dragon became the first Disney movie made at home. You are correct.
That's pretty awesome, especially if it turns out to be as good as I am saying.
And even if it looks as good as it does, and it was animated at home. It wasn't animated in the studio.
Yeah.
That shows
On a
something.
fateful early spring morning, the order came down that Raya and the Last Dragon moved its entire production, which had begun that very same month, to working from home.
So that
That's
level
insane.
animation quality that you're seeing from home.
That's crazy.
The Zoom meetings, the amount of of
No,
collaboration,
and it looks very good on an animation level, on a story level. I am very excited. You say it's already
the
on
action
track to
sequences
be one
are
of your favorites.
apparently like they're choreographed based on actual southeastern martial arts.
Yeah.
So to the T, it's
That sounds very, very interesting. And then also Pixar released a poster for their new movie, Luca. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not see that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the actual plot, but the poster came out, so Pixar's coming out with a new movie. And it's another original movie.
And Spider-Man got its name.
And
today.
Spider-Man got its real name after a week of getting repeatedly lied to with gag names.
That was good.
Yeah.
We finally got our official title for the third Marvel Spider-Man movie. It is Spider-Man No Way Home. So
Is that actually the confirmed name?
Yeah.
yes,
Because I had been seeing so many names
Yeah,
that are just
so
I had a
that-
tough time
that-
keeping. I saw Phone Home.
Yeah.
It's like an ET crossover.
I guess that was their way of keeping Tom Holland from spilling it. So, but no, we got our official real name drop. It is Spider-Man Far From Home.
No Way Home.
Or No Way Home. Sorry, that was wow.
A couple years late, Sean.
A couple years late. Sorry about that, folks.
The new name is The Dark Knight. I mean, Batman Begins.
Oh,
Yes. I'm just gonna do that once per episode. Slip
A
up on
callback.
something.
Yes.
Call back on something.
Now, before we get to our main segment, we have a thing now every episode where we ask Sean what is in his cup today. Sean is obviously drinking something every single episode. So,
Absolutely.
Sean, on this very third episode of Everything is Fine, what is in your cup?
I'm drinking Slusho this evening.
That is glorious. I'm happy. Connor and I are drinking water. Good old H2O. So,
What movie is that from, Matt?
what movie is water from? Moana. All right. Sorry, I was in a Disney mindset. That's the first one. Or Finding Nemo.
Or
All right.
the biography, Shape of.
Shape of Water. Yes, that is the based on a true story of the birth of H2O. Okay, but anywho, so today we are here to talk about a very controversial topic, which we will now get into. Now, the prequels, very polarizing films when they first came out. I'm not really old enough to remember the hype when they came out because I was born in 1999, and that's when Phantom Menace came out. So I was 6 when the trilogy ended.
As an older man, born in 1998, I can say that I
Much older.
I too. I only remember, VHS shopping for these things.
Yeah.
That was where my hype was, and then of course the toys.
I did not see any of them in theaters. My brother saw Revenge of the Sith in theaters, but I didn't go because I was 5, and it was the first PG-13 Star Wars. So my parents were like,
Oof.
Well, when you're 5 years old, like
yeah, there's a bit of a difference.
There is.
So
No, PG. When Revenge of the Sith was PG, like I read many articles were like, "Whoa, like PG-13 Star Wars, that's nuts," because Star Wars was a very family-friendly franchise in its heyday, and now it's PG-13.
My cousin actually had to wait till he turned 13 to watch Episode 3, so I spoiled the hell out of it for him. It was really mean.
It's actually
Looking
true.
back. Yes.
Wow.
No, yeah, he had a very strict aunt that was like, "You're 13, PG-13."
Gotcha.
So he had only experienced Episode 1 and 2 in the original trilogy, and I just laughed at him every time I saw him because I was like, "Oh my god, it was so great." But yeah, Episode 2 was the first movie I saw in theaters
Ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was
that's quite a downer.
What, 5? Was it 2002? It came out
2002. Yeah, 99.
So I would have been
and 05.
I would have been 5. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
2002. Yeah.
4.
Yeah, my first exposure to these movies was actually through the first ever Lego Star Wars game. Because many people forget, the first Lego Star Wars game was not the original trilogy. It was based on the prequels, because those had just come out.
Yeah.
And then they made the original trilogy games, and then they combined them into the greatest game ever, Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. But my first exposure was in the Lego games, because my brother had it, and we did the co-op mode. So that's how I got into those movies.
For me, my dad was a huge fan of them, so he introduced me. Like, he showed me a couple of them when I was like very young, and from there, his sister, my aunt, had all the original on VHS. So the few times that we got to see each other, they would be on sometimes. My older cousins from that side of the family were fans of it, so it was just kind of all of us liked it, and then I came along, and then I liked it. So just gradually being integrated into my life.
Yeah, it's kind of the like my family had no interest in Star Wars. It was just me and my brother. My brother was 3 years older than me. We were both very into Star Wars, but my parents did not care. My dad watched it, when he could. So I actually, in order, my father failed me. I didn't watch the original trilogy first. So I watched.
I have failed you, Anakin.
He quite literally. I watched Episode 1 as a kid, and then 2, and then at a friend's house, I watched the original trilogy before Episode 3 came out. Very weird viewing order.
True.
I think I definitely watched the original trilogy first. Because I remember, my mom and my dad are not, like, huge Star Wars fans, but they enjoy the franchise. They're, like, the very extreme casual fan. They love Star Wars. So they showed me the original trilogy first. And then I watched the prequels when I was, like, maybe, 7 or 8. And I really didn't get them because, let's be real, those movies, even though they are made for kids, they're not for kids.
Not the prequels.
No, not at all.
Not the prequels.
I remember when I first saw them, I saw smatterings of the prequels, like on TV. They were just on, and my dad said, "Oh, if you like these 1 or 2 just like out of context scenes, then like we should sit down and actually watch them in order." And I was like, "Oh, so we're gonna like actually watch like 1, 2, 3." I knew there were 6 of them at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, so we're gonna watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6." And he's like, "Nope." I was like, "What?" So for like a 6-year-old, I was like, "Huh?"
Yeah,
but,
it can be confusing if you are just getting into it.
So
out,
when he showed me Episode 4, I was deeply confused. I felt like I was missing stuff, and he's like, "No, you're doing it right." Yeah. I was like, "Okay," and then I think that's where my love of complex stuff came from. The fact that I had to begin with 4.
Oh yeah, that always messed with me.
So
that's why I wanted to wait till Episode 3 came out to watch 4, 5, and 6. I'm like, you're gonna spoil Episode 3 for me.
Yeah.
Episode 3 was honestly the only one that ever since I first saw it, I've liked it since I first saw it. Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, I've grown to appreciate them more, but when I first saw them, I was not a big fan.
Quite the opposite. I loved them as a kid. I remember having to return the first movie's VHS before I even got into Star Wars, but my brother and I were like, those are light-up swords on the front of the picture. Those are the toys we play with. Let's get to know the toys that we play with.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I watched it on VHS, obsessed with the prequels as a kid. Because obviously they were my first movies.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, I have grown to hate Star Wars.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Yeah. That's the thing.
All right,
see
you guys.
To a kid seeing the prequels, they're like, "Oh, this one's flashy and everything's like bright and the action happening." Because if you look at like the different, like the original trilogy was the 80s, and we had what the 80s could give us back then.
Late 70s, early 80s.
But then you see early 2000s, you see the CGI starship fights.
Jar Jar Binks.
Shut up. You saw all of this like flashy in your face. It's Star Wars.
The droideka, the Darth Maul's.
Double-bladed lightsaber.
The movies did a great job of ending with that flash. That way, as when you left the theater,
so that little kid Connor was like, "That was
because you leave the Phantom Menace and you're not remembering those 45 minutes where they're on Coruscant, just sitting and talking.
That's exactly
what
Rogue One did to adults.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You end with the Darth Maul fight, and everyone leaves the theater, and they're like, "Yeah!" And then Attack of the Clones, you end it with the Geonosis battle sequence, and then the whole Count Dooku thing, and you're like,
and
"Yeah!"
then Sith, you end with
Revenge
Vader.
Revenge of the Sith is the only one of the prequels that, again, I've liked since I first saw it because something occasionally happens.
Why is the bar so low?
No, as a kid, you just want to watch wow,
I want to see the sword fight.
Whereas Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones have really long parts of the movie that are just people walking and talking.
Oh my God, Phantom Menace.
Well, Phantom Menace has a 30-minute sequence about an hour into the movie where they're just going back and forth between the Jedi Council, the Senate meetings, the Chancellor Palpatine's little
and trauma, thing. My brain deleted that because what little kid Connor remembered was the Duel of the Fates and none of the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
and I've
been a cynic ever since I was 8.
If you follow the plot progression of Phantom Menace by itself, it is. The characters are coming up with a plan. The characters are coming up with a plan. The characters enact a plan. The characters come up with a plan. The characters come up with another plan. Inappropriate flirting. The characters come up with a plan. That's the movie. And then Darth Maul dies.
I mean, the negotiations were short. So
the negotiations were short, Matt. But that's the whole movie. It's
I guess we're start getting into Phantom Menace now.
Yeah, so we can just start.
Yeah. The first thing I recommend you do is read the crawling titles of the Phantom Menace.
Oh my God.
I'll pull up the crawl right now.
There is something to be said. Now, the title crawls of all the Star Wars films are legendary because of the format. But here's the thing.
Well,
some of them suck.
Well, no, I would say the prequel crawls, even though they're not... Well, no. The prequel... I don't want to get into more Star Wars. We're focusing mostly on the prequels.
Yes.
I would say that the prequel crawls are better than the sequels.
Some of them.
100%.
No,
Seven's
read
is
it.
pretty
Read it
good.
out loud.
Seven's pretty good, but listen to Phantom Menace and read it with a straight face.
All right.
I understand episode 9.
If you can't, I'll read it.
So here is the Phantom Menace opening crawl.
So bad. Imagine put yourself in their shoes. You're a 5-year-old boy. You've come here for the light up swords. Now read the intro.
Turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. The taxation of trade routes to allied star systems is in dispute. That's the first block. Hoping to resolve the matter with a blockade of deadly battleships, the greedy Trade Federation has stopped all shipping to the small planet of Naboo.
It's at this point that your dad who took you to see the movie is snoring.
While the Congress of the Republic endlessly debates this alarming chain of events, the Supreme Chancellor has secretly dispatched 2 Jedi Knights, which by the way isn't accurate because Obi-Wan's still a Padawan, the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, to settle the conflict, ... And that's where it ends.
Now, as a political science major, that's intriguing. As someone that couldn't read as a 5-year-old, I'm happy I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff did go over my head when I first watched
It's just taxation, separatists.
This is for kids!
What?
But okay, I understand your point of it's for kids, and yes, as a kid, I'll even admit it, I wasn't a huge fan of those parts of the movies, really at all.
No.
I was mostly there for the Darth Maul stuff.
Yes.
And the mini spurts of action. Even the pod racing scene I found somewhat intriguing.
Bless the pod
racing. The pod racing scene does save that movie a little bit for a brief time.
I watched these movies because I hadn't seen them in a while. Outside of Sith. Sith I watch every now and then. But I hadn't seen 1 and 2 in a very long time. So I watched them a couple days ago. And I have to say, Phantom Menace is much more enjoyable than I remember it being.
I can't disagree more. Sean and I just rewatched them this past year because we introduced his girlfriend to Star Wars.
Yes.
And that's the revelation that I had that, oh my God, all of this is bad.
Yes. All Star Wars is bad in its own right, but we love that garbage.
If you compare it to other Star Wars, then you could say something's good.
I've said this about the prequels since Sean and I have found out that we both love Star Wars. I've had this quote, and Sean can credit me for saying this, because I've said this. The prequels are a great story told very poorly.
Right.
Yes.
And it's the opposite
there
of the
is
sequels.
something there that is very unique and very interesting to people that are huge Star Wars fans. For the casual viewer, maybe not. But the writing is just so
bad.
Not on par
with
what it's trying to actually say.
George couldn't write dialogue to save his life.
It also was very... I will say this about Phantom Menace, something negative, because obviously they're not perfect films. It does feel and look very dated. The CGI does not hold up
episode
at all.
3's holds up.
3 is so
three
good.
does.
And to be fair,
1 does not.
And to be fair, though, like, episode for 1999, I think it's good. And I think that was...
It was nominated for visual effects at the... It lost to The Matrix, because of course...
Of course, older CGI isn't going to hold up very well,
No,
but
not
it
at
did...
all.
For what it did for the industry.
Well, I'm not saying the CGI of, like, you know, how the droids look. I'm saying the CGI because most of those sets that they're walking around are not real sets. They're just, like, blue and green screen. Those are what I'm talking about, because you can tell those are green screen sets nowadays. Yeah. They don't look as authentic as they may have.
Right, which is
I'm
something,
not talking about,
something
like,
the sequels did so well is quite the opposite.
With practical effects and realistic locations. No, I agree with that. And again, to go off my quote about the prequels, the sequels are horrible stories that are told great.
Yeah.
The production value is incredible in
it's
those.
quite
the writing is very witty. I just think the story and they're very hollow. But we're not here to talk about those.
Yeah, that's in like a month.
Yeah.
But no, as far as the prequels go, just focusing on Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace is very interesting on paper because, like, you see the Republic as the Republic, and maybe the political side of the Republic has some, like, interesting merit to it. But as a kid, you wanted to see the flashy lightsaber fight.
Listen, as an adult, I don't want to see what happened in the Phantom Menace. What's the title of the saga?
The Skywalker saga?
No. Star Wars.
Yes.
Oh, well, yeah.
We wanted to see war.
There's no war in episode 1 and 2.
It's not Star politics.
I will even
it's Star
say,
Wars.
From I enjoy watching Phantom Menace, but I will say this. I have said many times, I think that episode 1 should have been around a similar time period of episode 2. I feel like Anakin should never have been a boy in these movies. They should have just found him when he was the age he was in Attack of the Clones. Make something along those lines, episode 1, like Obi-Wan finding him beginning his training, him meeting Padme, them falling in love, whatever. Make episode 2 Clone Wars stuff, and then episode 3 keep it the same.
Oh, I disagree. I would delete entirely episode 1, because in a lot of viewing situations, people recommend that you don't watch it at all.
Make episode 1 around the same time as episode 2.
I would make episode 1 literally episode 2.
Yeah.
Not that episode 2 is good, but then, episode 2 being the Clone Wars.
Yes, and then episode 3 keep it the same.
Yeah.
I think the Clone Wars really affects people's view of the prequels, which isn't fair. If you cut out the Clone Wars, the prequels are horrible.
It shouldn't be you have to watch the Clone Wars to enjoy
You shouldn't
it should be, oh, you enjoy these movies, here's more.
Right.
It shouldn't be you have to watch this to appreciate them.
Yeah.
But even so,
but boy, do they help.
To move on to kill the Phantom Menace and move on to Attack of the Clones.
Oh God, we're just getting started.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm doing this. Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace is dead. Next.
Phantom Menace is dead. Phantom Menace has a couple of good scenes and a couple of good moments. There's some.
Don't say a couple good. What are your good scenes, Sean? Explain.
It's the Duel of the Fates because we all know that.
Okay.
And I like the scene where Qui-Gon meets Anakin and his mom.
Okay.
The foreshadowing from Anakin saying
of Anakin and his mom in that.
Anakin and his mom is actually decent.
They build that up to be a good relationship. That way, when you get to episode 2 and
you kind of care,
stuff happens, you actually you feel it.
It's great.
But even so, there are some moments I like in the I like pod racing's fun. Pod racing's fun.
That's
all you can say is it's fun.
It has nothing to do.
It has nothing to do with anything, but it's fun. It's a nice break from politics.
The fact that they couldn't figure out a way to get money outside of basically putting a boy's slavery on the line and some extreme race, what the hell? That's what you rely on.
Yeah, it was bad. There were some flaws, but it's a fun scene to watch the race. I like the scene where Qui-Gon meets Anakin and his mom. That's the foreshadowing from Anakin saying there's no way you can kill a Jedi. That's some horrible.
I would even argue. I really like the last. Again, going back to they end on a high note. The last half hour where they intercut between Padme and Captain Panaka and all them trying to find the Trade Federation and Gunray, and they're cutting back and forth between the Maul fight, and then they're also cutting back and forth between the Gungans fighting the droids, and they're also cutting back between Anakin and just trying to destroy the droid ship with the tri-spinning. That's a good trick. That whole scene. I enjoyed how they cut those. It's not it doesn't feel, even though there's a lot of things going on, it never feels like they're getting overwhelmed. Yes. They do a great job editing that together.
But that's what was really bad about that finale is that there were no risks. If you watch when they're planning the battle and the guy's oh, this won't be a problem. They already know, this isn't going to be hard because the Trade Federation doesn't have a droid army yet. It has a droid battalion.
I will say, as much as it is fun to look at the Darth Maul fight, there aren't much.
It's fun to not look at, but to listen to, and that is
That
why
too,
the
yeah.
scene is so good.
Yeah.
Duel of the
But
Fates.
but I will
John
say there
Williams-
isn't much emotionally going on.
John Williams is
I'll
out
give you
here
that. I'll
saving
give you
these movies.
Not at all. Nor the only reason you really care about Qui-Gon is because he's the only one given lines the whole film.
Darth Maul is the best character in that movie because he doesn't have to say any lines. He
Darth Maul,
doesn't have to say any.
but Darth Maul's a
Lucas dialogue.
horrible character in this film because he doesn't have any lines.
Yeah.
Darth Maul becomes a great character
Also-
off screen
Also, he doesn't have a painted neck.
in a scene.
There's one scene
pretty
where
sad.
it's him and Sidious on a balcony discussing their plan, which Sidious doesn't have a plan, but we think he does. But they're discussing the plan, and his neck.
So can I ask you a question?
Isn't
Because
pink.
I've been hearing a lot of positives and negatives. Because I've already said that I enjoy the movie. Connor obviously doesn't. What is your opinion on it, if I may ask? Because I'm hearing like you like this, but also you don't like.
I know that it's not the greatest movie ever put to film. I like it. I will sit down and I will watch Phantom Menace with a half smile on my face because I'm a sucker for Darth Maul. And part of that is because of the Clone Wars, but we can't talk about that here. But I like Darth Maul. I liked his entrance. I thought he was cool, especially as a kid. I do like a lot of what they tried to do, and because I'm the kind of person who reads the Star Wars books and played all the games, and like I dive way too deep into Star Wars, I appreciate the idiosyncrasies of star politics. I do know, though, if I turn all of that off and watch it as a film, just a film, it's a god-awful film. Do I think it's okay Star Wars? I think it's a bad film. And that's why I'm okay with it.
What's the difference there? Why is it okay Star Wars?
It's okay Star Wars because I'm the kind of Star Wars fan that like I said, enjoy the extended universe and the extended lore. So,
yeah, me too.
And I love if you can show me Star Wars, I'll always accept it with like going into it of this could be really great or it could be really bad, but at the end of the day, it's Star Wars. It's not supposed to be the greatest thing ever put down. Okay. So, because I like those non-magical moments in Star Wars, I think that's interesting. And I only like those non-magical moments in Star Wars, like the politics, because of the magical moments in contrast. It shows that not everyone is a force-wielding badass with a sword. So,
I like that take.
But yeah.
I like that take.
Phantom
that's a good
Menace-
take.
Like who in Phantom Menace? You have to. It's like these are good points.
Yeah.
And they're presented well in the sequel trilogy.
Yes.
The prequel trilogy, I'm not seeing.
Absolutely, that's the problem.
Where are the cool non-force users in the prequel trilogy?
That's also the
Cool
problem.
non-force
There's
users.
not many.
Because you just said that's a reason you like the Phantom Menace, and there is none.
Well, I'm not saying like I'm calling on individuals. I'm saying like, oh, it's neat to kind of see the Senate try to be a Senate. I like the ideas of.
I love the integration of the politics. I just don't like the way.
I don't like the way it was executed.
Written.
I don't like how it was written.
I like
But
the
it's
idea
cool
that he had for it.
It's cool to
I
think
love
about.
the Federation and them breaking away from it. That's all cool.
Yeah.
Yes,
However,
that's what I'm saying.
it was done awfully.
Yes.
Because we don't know why the Trade Federation
we
doesn't
never
want to be part of the Republic.
Be prepared to take that question to your grave.
Right.
You'll never know.
It's very
Why
very
were they
fair
separatists?
to ask. Why do the Separatists exist? What's that? What's the politics behind that? What is the Republic doing? Are they overreaching? Is it tyrannical government, which is literally Palpatine, but yet for some reason the Separatists are encouraging people to give the Republic more power. That doesn't make sense politically.
Yeah, that's fair. So there's so many problems with it. It's a good idea to think about. It's a good idea to think about those politicians being politicians, but it just is executed poorly. So Phantom Menace, final word, at least from my end. Good idea, decent lore, bad execution as a film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I were to give it a grade, I would say as a film, it's like a C-.
It's a little high.
It's a little high, jeez. But on my scale, I would give it a C+, B-, maybe. I enjoy watching it because I enjoy. Honestly, Qui-Gon's a really cool character. Yeah, I think he's honestly very underrated because he is only in one movie.
He's much cooler in the Clone Wars. They expand on him.
Yeah, Qui-Gon is a great character, and I like him and Obi-Wan's dynamic far more than I ever liked him and Anakin's
him and
dynamic.
Obi-Wan's dynamic didn't exist.
Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan?
In Episode 1.
No.
They did not interact. Nor did they talk to each other about how they feel ever.
Okay, maybe.
Nor did he teach Obi-Wan a single thing.
You are going into the Clone Wars.
Yeah, you're going into the Clone Wars.
Speaking of Clone Wars.
That's not what I want to do.
Speaking of Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones.
By the way, just one last thing. I did mention Academy Awards. I want to just clear up stuff. So, Phantom Menace nominated for 3 Academy Awards: Best Sound, Best Visual Effects, and back when there was a Sound Effects Award.
All deserving.
All deserving.
All deserving, 100%. They lost all 3.
Not that soundtrack.
What?
Not nominated for soundtrack.
Not even John Williams could save it.
No, none of the prequels are nominated for score, which is a travesty.
Wow,
But all the sequels were, which is also a travesty.
That's pretty bad.
Basically, all they did was hit.
I feel like they might have
V.
felt bad for John Williams. They were like, here.
Yeah. All right. So
Attack of the Clones.
Now I will say this:
boy.
Attack of the Clones is my least favorite of these three movies.
See, the Phantom Menace is my least favorite. The difference, and these are both my bottom two, right?
Aren't
but
the prequels your bottom three?
Yes. But in order, too. But the reason that I put 2 above 1 is because 2 is enjoyable, is a fun bad movie to watch, because you can make fun of it. In episode 1, it's quite literally not enjoyable to even make fun of. It's just boring to watch. Whereas in episode 2, wacky stuff's happening. You don't know why. It's not explained. The plot makes no sense.
No.
But it's very fun to watch.
The plot is a travesty. There is so much wrong. Exactly. There is so much wrong with the plot. And
I gotta pull up the crawl now.
Hold on. Pull up the crawl.
Oh, this one's just as bad.
This crawl
They're
is
all
also
bad.
bad.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm
literally
is
just
also
coming to
bad.
my arguments.
War.
War.
After you read the crawl for this, though, I want to explain a perfect dissection. One scene that exemplifies how bad this movie is as far as plot.
There is unrest in the Galactic Senate. Several thousand solar systems have declared their intentions to leave the Republic.
Why?
That's the first one.
Why?
This separatist movement, under the leadership of the mysterious Count Dooku, even though the Jedi know exactly who he is because he was a former Jedi, but
Who's the mysterious Count?
has made it difficult for the limited number of Jedi Knights to maintain peace and order in the galaxy. That's the second thing. Senator Amidala, the former Queen of Naboo, is returning to the Galactic Senate to vote on the critical issue of creating an army of the Republic to assist the overwhelmed Jedi.
Also, I just want to point something out. Count Dooku is in charge of the Separatists, who want peace, essentially, right?
They want to break away from the
Can we
Republic.
discuss his Sith name?
Darth Tyrannus?
Yes. Darth Tyrannus
Makes
wants
no sense.
peace for the Separatists.
Another thing in the crawl that makes no sense. They're overwhelming the Jedi.
Yeah.
I don't.
They're not even bothered by him.
I don't really worry about all the stupid Sith, because literally
I
Darth
know.
Vader got his name by Palpatine going, henceforth you shall be known as Darth Vader.
It was the first name
it's
that came out,
Palpatine
yeah.
being like, this sounds rad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Same
make...
thing with Darth Tyrannus.
It was probably just
Not a
him
big
going
deal.
like,
That's
yo,
super cool.
Tyrannus.
The
And then he went on to be the peace guy.
Honestly, Count Dooku, like, again, I'm stupid Clone Wars. I keep going back to Clone Wars. He is such a better character in Clone Wars.
Yeah, he is, but we can't talk about that here.
I know we can't. In the movies, yes, he's underdeveloped, but just because it's Christopher Lee, like, it's already improved.
Well,
Count Dooku is a bad character. I think he would have been good if he didn't work for Palpatine. If he was genuinely, I left the Jedi Council because they are blinded by the dark side. This is something that Rian Johnson did in Episode 8. He knew that those Jedi were not Jedi. They were not following their own rules. They were becoming military generals instead of peacekeepers.
Guardians of Peace.
And if they made Count
Justice.
Dooku, I want to actually follow that rule. I want to separate because I know Palpatine is secret. No, they just made him a puppet for Palpatine.
Yeah.
Ruined his whole character.
And he lied to Obi-Wan.
But going back to
the
the crawls a while, we don't know why the Separatists separated. We also don't know why the Jedi are overwhelmed by a peaceful separation. Why do they need an army to fight someone who doesn't want to fight?
Yeah. Also, I just have a problem with the line thousands of solar systems. Think about that logically. There's one star system that Star Wars takes place in.
One galaxy.
One
There's
galaxy.
thousands of solar
Yeah, there's
systems.
thousands, but like, we only know about 20 planets
In Star Wars?
in Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
I can name more than 20.
There's gotta be
Okay, more than 20, but like, I just have a problem with thousands.
I mean, it is a little exaggerated.
That's
but
just way too
That's
much.
the least of this.
That sounds like the entire.
You're digging deep.
That doesn't sound like a separation. That sounds like everyone turning
the
on
separatist
him.
movement, though. If Count Dooku is kind of working for Palpatine, are they really just doing this as a ploy to start the Clone Wars? Is that really just Palpatine?
Yeah,
That's
that's
how
what it
they
is.
explain it.
So exactly. So like I guess that's the reason. But like
Palpatine
No.
funded two armies to fight each other, so
Why
he
did
could be
he
elected
fund-
space president, so he could stop his two armies from fighting each other.
Why did the Jedi and Senate think they needed a military? Because no one was fighting them.
No.
The Jedi and it says the Jedi are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But it also says that Count Dooku and the Separatists are peaceful.
Yeah.
So
who's stressed?
It's not like the Jedi are like, oh, we only have the Jedi to fight. We need a military to help. No, they're not fighting yet. No one's fighting.
But like even so, like and that just to further actually your point, I want like just because we've already talked about so many problems, we've not even gotten into the scenes of the movie yet.
What's this scene? That you were
There's this
hinting
scene.
at?
There's a scene that if you follow the logic of it, paints a perfect example of the movie you're getting into. And that is, I'm talking about the attempted assassination of Padme Amidala. Now, here's the thing. Follow me on this, folks. So...
First of all, there's a lot of good lines, meme lines in this
scene. Here's the thing.
He's going over the logic of this
I'm going over the logic of this scene. So, for instance, like, we all know that Palpatine, who is, Palpatine masquerading as a senator... Sheev is...
Big Daddy Sheev.
Oh, spoilers for the Star Wars prequels.
Thank you, Connor.
But Sheev wants Padme Amidala dead. Why? Because I guess she was going to vote against a thing he wanted to do.
Amidala's like in the way of this big army.
Yeah, but this big army that
also,
he has no argument for.
Padme is the best in this movie.
Well, because Padme's probably like, wait a second, they haven't attacked.
They haven't attacked us. So Padme is aware of the writing issues in the movie and is therefore trying to stop the movie from happening. So Sheev, champion of the writing issues, wants to stop this. So what does Sheev do? Sheev hires Count Dooku to kill Padme, but he doesn't want to do it himself. So then Count Dooku hires Jango Fett, renowned bounty hunter, and we learn is the genetic model for the clones, to go kill Padme. But he doesn't want to do it either. So then he hires his shape-shifting bounty hunter friend...
Zam Wessel, right?
Zam Wessel, who never shapeshifts in the movie, despite we're knowing that she's a shapeshifter.
Basic writing class would say don't put anything in there that doesn't need to.
Yes. So he hires his shape-shifting friend, Zam, to kill Padme.
But she doesn't want to kill her.
But she doesn't want to do it either. So she then sends a robot to go to her apartment, I guess, in the town.
The robot doesn't want to do it.
The robot doesn't want to do it.
With a gigantic-ass window, by the way.
Yes.
That's just,
with the blinds open.
It's begging to be open. She has no defenses, and meanwhile, Anakin and Obi-Wan are in the other room, and Anakin's talking about how he dreams of Padme. In one of the worst
As
written...
you do.
Yeah, in one of the worst exchanges of dialogue ever. But they're brooding in the other room. The robot goes up to the window, but the robot doesn't want to go in and do it itself. So it cuts a hole in the window and sends two centipede-looking things into the room to go kill Padme. So what happens? Anakin and Obi-Wan, with the Force and the fact that R2-D2 screams...
It's literally just Anakin turns his head and Obi-Wan goes, I sense it too.
Yes, and R2-D2 screams as he kicks on, but they run into the bedroom... Anakin nearly takes Padme's head off, which he would then be sent by the bugs to kill Padme, but he doesn't. He misses. He kills the bugs. And Anakin, who just talked about how obsessed he is with this woman and would do anything for her, goes and leans down to make sure she's all right. And what does our level-headed Master Obi-Wan Kenobi do? He dolphin dives out the window, grabs onto a robot the size of the football, and then flies through Republic City, dangling by his fingertips... and is freaked out, and then the orb gets shot out from underneath of him. Anakin saves his butt by flying under him with a car. Obi-Wan says, I hate flying, and then what does Anakin do? The exact same thing that Obi-Wan just did.
But Obi-Wan gets upset at him.
He dolphin dives out of the car, and then he looks into the camera and says, my apprentice sucks.
So this is the difference between 2 and 2 and 1. Episode 1 had the characters had no characteristics, right? You can't differentiate Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Because there is no, they don't have personalities. The same critique you might have for a movie like Batman vs. Superman or Cars 2, you have to hold true and acknowledge that the characters in the prequels, or in Episode 1, didn't have characteristics, right? They're not differentiated. In Episode 2, I think George Lucas was like, let's make them fun. So, like, Obi-Wan doesn't like flying. That's really cool. Like, Anakin's really, like, brash. Even though Obi-Wan also jumps out a window, so it doesn't...
And then gets mad about Anakin doing it later. They
have characteristics, but they're not consistent, but you're getting there. We'll get there in Episode 3. Don't worry, George is learning as he goes.
Yes. But that whole convoluted chain of events of hire this person to hire this person...
15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, that's the first 15 minutes of the movie.
And then later, when the shapeshifter gets away into a crowded area...
Django shoots her from, thousands of yards away.
She doesn't shapeshift to hide.
No.
There is no reason for her to be a shapeshifter. And then instead of Django going to kill Padme while she's unguarded, he kills the assassin he sent instead.
Yeah, that way the assassin couldn't divulge the super secret list of command of who hired
Padme
who.
had no guards left. They both left.
She had maybe a handmaiden. What's she gonna do?
I'm not trying to defend... This movie's not good.
Oh, you said it was your least favorite. I still think Episode 1 is worse than this.
Even so, that's just the first couple of minutes of the movie, and I promise we're gonna go fast.
Personally, I think Attack of the Clones it's my least favorite because so much of the movie is built around Anakin and Padme's relationship.
Yes.
And the whole movie makes that relationship feel so stale, so forced. The dialogue is awful. Like I know we can't say anything new.
Yeah.
About the dialogue in this movie. It's been beaten to death, but I really just want to reiterate how bad this romantic dialogue, like when Anakin's like, "You're in my very soul, you torment me," and Padme's
that's not
like,
what you say to someone you love.
George is great with the ladies.
I truly, deeply love you, because that's what people say to each other.
That's what George says to his wife. Yeah, hey babe, I truly, deeply love you.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't.
Slower.
You aren't.
There's also the sand line.
You aren't gonna pick someone up by talking about how much you hate sand. I'm sorry, dude.
Also, big genius Palpatine, right? The big genius guy. Right,
who can see the future.
He wants Padme dead, right? Which would just make Anakin a good guy for the rest of the saga.
Yeah,
that's just part of his plan. And then the bounty hunters just stop trying because they're dating, I guess.
Yeah,
bounty hunters stop. So I guess it's because Palpatine wants her to get with Anakin so he can turn bad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, because then she's being put to death in the arena later. So his big evil plan. There's no plan. Like,
does he want her dead?
Or not?
Does he want Anakin to go to the dark side? We don't know.
Meanwhile, Obi-Wan talks and fights Jango Fett, knows that the clones are made by... knows that Jango Fett works for Count Dooku, but he forgets by the episode 3, so it's fine. The Clone Wars happens because Obi-Wan forgot. He
never puts together the information that Jango Fett works for Dooku if he's working for Dooku, and we're getting this clone army, but he's the basis for the clone army. Oh no, the clone army is a lie, and it's being paid for by Dooku, and we're going to get turned on a couple decades in the future. I have to tell someone, and then he forgets.
But don't worry, Disney ruined Star Wars, guys.
No, God. But no, like...
Okay, no, Disney did not ruin Star Wars. In fact, Disney's helping Star Wars. I just think that they screwed up the movies.
Well, everyone screwed up the
Many
Star Wars
people would
movies.
disagree with you.
Everyone screwed up the Star Wars
here's
movies.
Here's the thing about the prequels. Yes, it's a great story told poorly, but at least there was consistency within the movies. Say what you will about it.
What?
Each of the movies...
We can't talk about those yet, though.
No, I'm just saying, each of the movies, it feels like they were made by the same person.
Yes, for sure it does.
With one consistent vision of what needs to happen from point A to point B to point C, all the way through point Z. The Disney movies...
Anakin has to turn bad.
The Disney movies are insanely sporadic,
disjointed,
and convoluted, and disjointed. That's my whole big thing. I like movies that have one continuous vision of one person trying to tell a story that has a beginning, middle, and end, not people trying to figure it out as they go.
Yes,
a beginning, middle, and end, though. I mean, can you really say that the 3 movies are the beginning, middle, and end? Most of
the prequels?
Yes.
Of Anakin's rise and fall?
It's not divided by thirds, I can tell you
it's
that.
Really
not. It's not divided by thirds, but there's a
he doesn't even
and there's
rise.
a clear end.
If when we get into the Revenge of the Sith, I mean, they have to rush so hard at making you think that Obi-Wan and Anakin are friends.
Well, the original cut of that movie was 4 hours long.
Because in episode 1 and 2, they did nothing for these characters. You only see Anakin as a villainous murderer. You do not see him as a good guy.
Or a questionable child.
Yeah, you don't see Anakin good at all because you see all good Anakin in the Clone Wars.
And then a good Anakin is in the Clone Wars, but in the movies you see him as a kind of spoiled brat.
In episode 2, he's a piece of garbage person.
And then in episode 2 he murders an entire village of sand people. Granted, they killed his mom, but
hey, they were animals, and he slaughtered them like animals.
Jesus.
But not just the men, the women and the children too.
Oh, and then Padme's like,
and then Padme just stares at him.
Yeah. And then in episode 3, she's so surprised that he killed younglings when he literally just killed children in the last movie.
He couldn't have done this.
You're breaking my heart.
Except for that one time.
Except for that one time when he literally told you he murdered
that
an entire village.
But it was okay because they were Tusken Raiders. So.
But yeah, episode 3 was as rushed as episode 9. Mostly because, just like the sequels, things weren't done well enough to set up for a finale. So Anakin had no relationship with Palpatine, but you were forced to believe that they have. Anakin had no relationship with Obi-Wan, because all of episode 2, they're separated. And when they're together in the beginning, he's just like... Or, no, not when they're together. When he's with Padme, he's just like, Obi-Wan is a piece of shit. Like, that's it. That's what he thinks of his best... You're my brother. I'm like, I hate my brother, but, not that much. You know what I mean? In episode 3, in the beginning, you're, tricked into... Oh, these guys are, really good friends. But then you watch episode 1, where they don't interact, and episode 2... Where they don't interact.
Well, yeah, that's my thing. If they really wanted to sell the relationship of Obi-Wan and Anakin, they should have just had Obi-Wan be the one who finds Anakin. Because the fact that Qui-Gon found Anakin and then Obi-Wan's just kind of forced into training him, I will admit, that's not that good.
Right.
That's in fact kind of terrible.
Qui-Gon was supposed to be his father figure, that.
But even it's just
personally, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie besides the original trilogy.
And here
100%.
Read the crawl. Read the crawl to episode 3.
War.
I will say though,
it's better than the dead speak, but we're not there yet.
And it's well placed, but I will say this is where the fun begins. In a way.
This is where the fun begins.
Totally disagree here.
No, I'm talking about the opening sequence.
Revenge of the Sith is probably, I guess it's my fourth favorite. So.
Revenge of the Sith's opening sequence is fantastic.
War. The Republic is crumbling under attacks by the ruthless Sith Lord Count Dooku. There are heroes on both sides. Evil is everywhere. In a stunning move, the fiendish droid leader, General Grievous, has swept into the Republic capital and kidnapped Chancellor Palpatine, leader of the Galactic Senate. As the Separatist droid army attempts to flee the besieged capital with their valuable hostage, 2 Jedi Knights lead a desperate mission to rescue the captive Chancellor.
That would have been the best intro to a Star Wars episode ever. It's the cartoon Clone Wars. That's what they're talking about. If that was the beginning of the movie, that's a great beginning of a movie. That you cut out probably the coolest action sequence.
Yeah.
Of Palpatine being captured, and which would have continued into what happens in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. Instead, like an episode 9,
but you have to admit, they cut out the beginning half hour of Revenge
the beginning half hour of Revenge of the Sith.
It's still fantastic. It could have been better if they included when Palpatine was captured.
So why do you hate Revenge of the Sith, if I may ask?
I don't hate... Revenge of the Sith is considerably better than 1 and 2. However, it's considerably worse than the rest of Star Wars.
And why?
Because it still is at fault of all the things that 1 and 2 are at fault of. It's just slightly better, right? The effects are a little better. The dialogue is still just as bad as 1 and 2. The writing, the pacing is god-awful. It's worse than 9's. Because they both suffer from the same thing, like I said. They're both being rushed to make up for bad movies before them. Episode 3 is good to us because the soundtrack's great, right? It's also nostalgia. So they have cool, twirly fights. Would I say that they're good fights? No. They're fantastical, right?
I enjoy the emotional payoff of that movie, though.
I don't, because we haven't developed any relationships yet, so I don't have an emotional bond with these characters.
See, I disagree, though.
When Luke and Vader fought in Episode 6,
that
is an emotional bond.
Well, of course that's better.
Even to the...
I feel more of a connection based off of where I know that this will eventually end up than where we were before this, though. I will say that. I feel more weight about Obi-Wan versus Anakin at the end. I don't feel the weight of... wow, I've seen these characters grow. I will admit, that's a little weaker. I care more about, wow, this is Vader versus Obi-Wan, and it's going to lead into so much of the next movie. That's what I care about more with the end of this.
Of the effects that it has of the original trilogy.
Of wow, we're at this moment. This is such a pivotal moment.
But it also does so many things horribly. We haven't mentioned yet the actual character butchery. And that was not Luke in the sequels. It was Yoda in the prequels. There has not been a worse destruction of character ever. Because Episode 5 Yoda, one of the best Star Wars characters.
Yoda in Episode 5 is my favorite Star Wars character
now,
of all time.
What's he like in the prequels? Okay, here's Anakin. He's a young boy. He doesn't have a father. If we train him, he won't, he's obviously very powerful in the Force. Yoda says, go home. I feel fear in you. Go home. That's it.
No, I know. I meant Yoda.
Yoda in Episode 2. Fire on that ship. No. Yoda in Episode 2. I'm going to do triple flips and lightsaber fight a guy. Yoda in Episode 3. The only solution to a problem is violence. Yoda in Episode 3. Obi-Wan saying, please don't make me kill Anakin. Yoda being like,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do it anyway. It's the only way. Because violence is the only solution.
And then...
Luke in Episode 8. Quite the opposite.
Yes. And then there's the whole speech he gives, where it's just like the Force is an energy field. It's a wonderful thing. Like, he explains why, wisdom in the Force is so important.
Why do we agree to have Conor on this show?
Yoda. The Force is in all of us. Also Yoda.
It's not that he's right, because I disagree with him, but his arguments are fantastic.
Yes.
You have to agree that they butchered Yoda's character.
No,
I don't need to see the small lightsaber.
Considering how much I love Yoda, because Yoda is my favorite star in Episode 5.
The classical master.
He is my favorites, and if we ever argue best Star Wars acting performance, I will fight to the ends of the earth to defend that it's Frank Oz in Empire Strikes Back.
Yoda in Episode 8. A fantastic Yoda.
Yes.
Yes.
He's not
Literally,
showing up and
yes!
being like, Luke, the only thing you can do is kill Kylo Ren.
No.
Because that's what Episode 3 Yoda would say.
He literally burns down the sacred tree and he's like, get out.
He's like, it's not about the
Stop
textbooks,
being-
it's about the message.
Hey, I used to know this
No,
real...
Yoda does suck. I agree. In the prequels.
I used to know this real jerk. His
The
name was
good
Mace
news is,
Windu.
At least obviously he's in the movie, but like he's very much a supporting character in those movies.
I would have rather had him not be there than do what he did.
Long live Muppet Yoda. Like...
Well, he was a Muppet in Phantom
Oh, and then
Menace
the end of Episode 3, because for some reason Lucas had to tie up all ends, even though there's a 20-year gap.
I disagree. That's something else.
Yoda said, I failed once, I'm going into hiding.
He didn't even fail. He just got thrown down an air shaft.
He's not like, Obi-Wan and I will try again for the next 20... No. Fuck it.
I
Sorry,
fell.
Jedi, you're all gone.
I fell out of melee range. I guess I gotta go into
Have
exile.
fun with a tyrannical emperor. I'm not trying anymore.
I give up.
There's a baby,
I'm gonna go
maybe
hunt
when he
me
grows
some
older.
swamp rats on
Right.
Dagobah.
Well, we hope you are enjoying this episode of Everything is Fine. We're just going to call this one Matt Gets His Opinion Shattered.
Yep.
No.
Yes, exactly. This is
No.
Bloodbath.
We're almost there.
We're almost there, yes. We're going to
But
start
yeah,
that soon.
essentially though, like even if you look at the three,
Let's make our closing statements.
yeah, we've made it through these.
We've made it
prequels.
through all. We
We've
could
made
get
it through
into...
prequels.
This could be a 3-hour episode if we wanted to.
And we're not going to do that.
We're not gonna do that
We already
because-
went way. We already have. We said to ourselves, we're going to make these episodes about an hour and a half tops, but we'll keep it somewhere between an hour and then the last 2 episodes we've done that.
Yep.
So
Closing statements on our opinions about these films, and then we'll get into Bloodbath, which I'm super excited about.
yes.
So Sean, I guess you're started.
Closing statement: the Star Wars prequels are bad, but they're good bad. You know what I mean? Like you can sit down, and laugh at them and enjoy it, and enjoy them in various ways. Us like lore-loving nerds are gonna sit down and say Phantom Menace is okay, and us nutjobs who like the Clone Wars are gonna say 2 is okay, and then us who really really love the Vader Obi-Wan dynamic are gonna say 3 is okay. Are they good films? No, probably not. I mean, most people can say that. Do they have wonderful moments of, I can laugh at this and I can make memes about it to the day I die? Absolutely. And that's what makes them the prequels we know and love and hate. They're not good, but we laugh at them, and that's okay.
I'm just going to double down right here. Okay, so the prequels. I somewhat agree with everything you said. I enjoy these movies. I've recently watched them. I watched them both over the span of 3 nights, so I experienced them in a very condensed form. I think it was actually one of the first times I've ever actually watched them so close in succession. And upon rewatch, as an adult, I have now grown to really appreciate these movies, considering that I don't like what we've recently got. I think that these movies are very, very great at telling a story that is new. If it would have just been another fun space adventure with not really, like, that much going on outside, because let's be real, the world building in the original trilogy is there, but the prequels extended it so much. There is so much more world building and so much more lore given to the prequels, in my opinion. Now, you could say whether it's good or bad, but I think that there's much more of an effort to expand the universe. Really, the originals, they kind of just added a planet every movie. That was really most of what they did, and maybe like they referenced something. I appreciate the world building that these prequels did. I appreciate the overarching story. I love Revenge of the Sith. I love where it ends up. I think Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars movie besides the original trilogy. I think those 3 are still my favorite. I enjoy the rise and fall of this character, and I like what they were going for. Was the dialogue great? No. There are some really, really cringeworthy lines. But what the story was, what was underneath it all, is something that I think really, really stands as a great story and great Star Wars. Are they great movies? Maybe not. Effects don't hold up. Dialogue's not great.
I agree.
But the Star Wars lore and the Star Wars story it's trying to tell is, honestly, one of the best out there.
Listen, good Yoda said do or do not. There is no try. And George Lucas tried. He did not do. The prequel trilogy quite literally harmed Star Wars for me. If I have someone new, aka like Sean's girlfriend, watch Star Wars, I recommend the original trilogy and then the sequel trilogy. And you do not need to watch the prequels. It doesn't only take away the magic from Darth Vader. Now, you once saw him as this menacing, powerful, perhaps forgetting of the goodness inside of him, great villain. like one of the best villains of all time, and then watching him be him in episode 2 and 3, watching his fall happen within 5 seconds, watching this fake relationship he had with Obi-Wan. I love what the prequels did for the extended universe. I love the Clone Wars. I love all the books that came out with it, all the video games. The prequels did add a lot. It's just that when you're talking about those movies, you have to separate them from what they led to create. As individual movies, they were horrible. And I would not recommend watching them until you've watched the rest of Star Wars. If you like Star Wars, then watch the prequels. And if you have fun watching them, that's fine. I just disagree with you.
And now that we all sufficiently hate each other, let's make it worse. Because this is now, I'd like to say, the proud debut of me and Matt attempting to kill each other alive on air. Yes. Or, as we've called it, Bloodbath.
So Bloodbath is going to be a speed debate kind of thing where Sean and I are going to be defending our opinions on various questions that Connor will be asking us. Connor has 7 questions here for us.
7 questions that he came up with, by
Yes, and we have not heard of these questions, so we are going to be reacting to these in real time. We're going to be coming with our own answers on the fly, having to defend them on the fly.
Yes.
And Connor has 7 questions. We're not going to pick a winner per question. That's going to mostly be up to you guys. We're going to ask. We're going to put up some polls. And
we're just here to draw blood.
We're just here to have fun and let you guys know our opinions and to scream at each other.
Yep.
So Connor, if you want to explain what your role in this will be, and then...
So I've made 7 questions, and if we ever do, Bloodbath in the future, I'll have 7 questions for whatever topic that episode was about, right? Now these are 7 questions for the prequel trilogy, in which I'll ask a question, randomly pick one of them to answer first, because I think it'll be funny to put them on the spot with these questions. Okay. Some of them are serious, right? Some of them are... bigger in scope, and some of them are simple, fast answers, and some of them are kind of just funny. But most importantly, all of them should get them to disagree. At least that's my goal.
I see your grimace.
I'm so scared.
I'm not timing them, but we're trying to keep it to 30 seconds. Give me your answer, and try to prove your point, and then the other person gets to tell you why you're wrong.
I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous.
To begin.
I'm ready.
Because you're nervous, I'll give you the first question, Matt.
Damn you.
Recast one prequel actor with an actor of your choice.
I have to start with this?
Yep.
Shit.
A character and then an actor, and what actor you would replace them with.
Oh my god. I would recast Jake Lloyd in Phantom Menace with Haley Joel Osment.
What are those characters?
What?
Character. Who's Jake Lloyd? Who did Jake Lloyd play?
Young Anakin. I replace him with Haley Joel Osment from The Sixth Sense because he has already been proven to be a phenomenal actor. He was nominated for Academy Award. He was also in AI, a science fiction movie right after that. He would bring a much more level-headedness to Anakin. He's already played the scared kid who's like really, really nervous and like unsure of his place in life. What if he played Anakin, who has suddenly appeared with this Jedi Knight in front of him? He'd play that part so great, and he's already a great actor. He's not just a kid actor, he's a great actor. He would bring a lot more to that role than Jake Lloyd ever did. Jake Lloyd just came across as really whiny and complaining and didn't feel like a young Darth Vader.
Now this is pod racing. I mean, you can't replace that line.
And I'm sticking with the script. I'm not going to say recast young Anakin with a boy, because if it is 10 years before Phantom Menace, he needs to be a boy. Yeah. So make him Haley Joel Osment from The Sixth Sense. That's my pick.
All right, Sean?
Man, that's a tough one, because instantaneously, I'm not even going to lie, my mind went to Haley Joel Osment for young Anakin.
Really?
And I heard you start talking, and I was like, oh no.
I want blood. Give me something else.
I really don't have anything bad. Like, honestly, just like, and this is more just like, because I would love to see it. I like the play on the Jedi Masters. We don't see enough of them. However, I would very much like to see, and he was arguably one of the best actors in The Phantom Menace, and I love me some Liam Neeson, but part of me would love to see Qui-Gon as Sean Connery. Think of that. I'm not going for a good choice here. I'm going for a comedic choice.
No.
Think of that. Because think of it. Imagine that scene. Imagine the I'm not talking James Bond Sean Connery. I'm talking Indiana Jones Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Imagine you could or even Lawrence of Arabia Sean Connery. You can see him being this mystical kind of like man in the desert. Where's where we're at. I 100% love the idea of seeing Sean Connery give the same speeches, and I feel like he's the kind of actor who would bring something out of everyone. I mean, look at how he did in Indiana Jones. He was able to bounce chemistry off of anyone, anywhere, or look at any of his movies. It's James Bond. He was a suave super spy.
He'd be kind of old.
He'd be kind of old, yes, but that's what Qui-Gon needed to be. Qui-Gon was probably like a dad in his 50s. Qui-Gon would have probably been a little bit better played as a slightly older Jedi, and Sean Connery as an actor is someone that everyone loved working with back in the day. I guarantee you that anyone who was on the set with him would have had actual decent dialogue with him because it's Sean Connery. He could bring that out of people.
I think your choice is interesting. I'd be intrigued to see that, but here's why I think mine's better.
In defense, I did have to recover because you actually had the same thought as me.
Here's why I think mine's better. So, Liam Neeson, first of all, the chemistry, your argument is like, oh, he'd have much better chemistry. What chemistry is there to be? Qui-Gon is not with Obi-Wan throughout the entire film.
I mean, there's no chemistry in the whole movie.
There's no chemistry in the whole movie.
We're not saying rewrite the movie, we're saying recast the movie. So with how the script is written, Qui-Gon, the whole chemistry argument you made, that's not really like...
No, I know.
I think, like, Sean Connery
he can't
would be
fix the
fine, but, like,
he
I don't know.
can't fix the dialogue.
Liam Neeson was fine for what he needed to be as Qui-Gon. I don't think that would really... like improve the movie. I just think it'd add another spin to it.
We'll compromise at Sean Bean because it would be funny.
Haley Joel Osment
would be very
actually
funny.
Improve the movie.
He would, and you're
Watching
right.
Sean Bean die again.
And honestly, I just had to recover very strong because
I'm surprised that we
both went to the same. Well, because here's the thing: I hate a child actor. I'm gonna say it. I hate child actors, but Haley Joel Osment, one of those child actors that sticks with me.
The first one that came to my mind was Macaulay Culkin, and I stopped myself.
All right, next question. And now this is going to relate to episode 1 of your podcast.
Oh, boy.
What's the best song from the prequel soundtrack, Sean?
He has to go first.
It's Duel of the Fates.
Duel of the Fates, that fast. Do you have any explanation for...
I mean, listen to it. It's Duel of the Fates. There's a reason that people called for it to be the name of episode 9. Duel of the Fates, that statement by itself, not even the song, the statement by itself is that dichotomy, good and evil, like the dark side and the light clashing against each other. Yeah. And we saw the first actual clash in canon timeline of light and dark clash between Qui-Gon and Maul, and then seconds later, Obi-Wan and Maul. Mm-hmm. And yes, I know we couldn't talk about the Clone Wars, but if you watch the Clone Wars and think about Duel of the Fates and what it means, and Obi-Wan and Maul's arc in that, and the fact that Duel of the Fates is a thought in our mind so far after the movie, that movie was garbage, folks, but we have it in our brains to this day. There's a reason for that.
All right, Matt.
Across the Stars, Anakin and Padme's love theme.
Nice choice.
Because the only reason their romance works is because of that music. The dialogue is garbage. The Darth Maul fight is well choreographed. It would have worked with any music. Duel of the Fates just lifts it up a couple of levels.
John Williams said I could fix that.
Across the Stars, literally the scene where Anakin and Padme share their kiss and they're brought into the Geonosis, and that theme is absolutely pounding. It is so impactful, even though it's not supposed to be impactful.
That shot into the arena?
Yes! That shot of the arena is gorgeous.
Makes me want to lean over and kiss
whoever I'm sitting next to. It actually makes you think these characters actually love each other, even though the dialogue is terrible.
There's no clues.
This song is so beautiful as well. It's so brilliantly orchestrated. It's really the only, besides Han and Leia's love theme, I guess, it's the only really true love theme and true somber theme to the prequels. Most of the prequels have these really loud and bombastic This is so different, and it stands out in my opinion.
Rebuttal?
I mean, they're both good choices. They both stand on their own. We definitely approached it from different sides. I spoke definitely on how the impact of it stretched beyond the movie, but you definitely talked about fixing a movie, and John Williams was there to fix those movies. So I think that we both definitely have good points, but they can't clash. Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah.
All right, time to have some fun. I did ask you this before one time, and I had to include it.
Oh, no.
Matt, hook up Jar Jar with another Star Wars character in the universe.
Can it be from any movie? Does it have to be
any Star Wars movie?
Shit. And I have to answer first?
Uh-huh.
I have to defend why.
Who would you play Across the Stars with, Jar Jar and who, as they go into the arena?
Oh my god. I would feel terrible if ever I say it, because you have to be paired with Jar Jar. Shit. I think I'm gonna say the same answer I told you. Bib Fortuna. Jabba's bodyguard. Because he is a guy who just really has zero characterization. He seems very quiet, very sheltered. He's just waiting for that partner to bring him out. He's one of those characters where I'd love to know more about him. How did he get into Jabba's, how did he become this, servant? How did he get that job in the palace? What's his backstory? What's his, speech? Jar Jar would be able to make him much more social, bring out the good in him, and make sure, and to compliment
the balance in the Force.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and plus,
Right,
I could see them hooking up.
All right, Sean.
Babu Frick.
That's I like that.
They both have such a way with words. Think of it. Jar Jar's fascinated by the little things in life. And what is Babu Frick? The little thing in life. He's good with computers. He's a whiz with tech. And look at Jar Jar, who can't do anything right. That man can teach him some vital life skills. He's there to make that home a functional home. That little alien, he can do it all. He can fix your computer.
Jar Jar wrap his tongue around Babu's whole body.
Now that's a whole separate argument, and that's crossing the PG-13 rating.
Any rebuttal from you, Matt?
An interesting pick.
It's about the heart.
It's
about the heart.
I really don't know. This
Sean's only seeing
this
the
question is
physicality.
just so
You wanted to drag
weird.
something out of another character. I said, what can enhance Jar Jar? Not how can Jar Jar enhance someone else. What can enhance Jar Jar?
Jar Jar is way too beyond fixing, in my opinion.
No. I think Babu Frick can do it. Teach him some life skills.
Okay.
All right.
All
Next question for you, Sean. Swap the titles of a prequel film with any other Star Wars film.
Swap the title of a prequel film with us.
Both films swap titles.
You have to argue the other one too.
That's
Huh?
interesting.
Or just
Well, no. Just argue the prequel one, but yeah, you have to make it make
So-
sense for both. Yes.
I'm taking a title from any of the other movies, and I can't swap prequel titles.
No. From any other Star Wars
So,
film. Yeah.
so any prequel film can start with any.
I have one. I hope you don't take it.
Oh, that's interesting.
I have one. Shit, don't take it, please.
That's really tough because they all. That's really tough, actually.
Can I answer if he doesn't have an answer? Because I have one.
No, I have
Damn
to.
it.
He said me. We have Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. I'm just really naming them because I honestly can't do.
We got him on the spot.
We
folks.
got me on the spot.
I have an
Oh.
answer. I just hope you don't say it.
Would you like Matt to go first?
Sure, go ahead.
All right,
first.
go ahead.
I would swap Phantom Menace and Rise of Skywalker because Rise of Skywalker, you introduce yourself to Anakin. It's the Rise of Skywalker. It's the first time a Skywalker is ever introduced. You see that he's Force sensitive. Phantom Menace, Palpatine is literally coming back from the dead.
Bravo. Now, Sean.
I would swap Revenge of the Sith with Last Jedi. And think of it like this: we have no. I know that's a terrible pick, but let
Now
me
that
explain.
means The Last Jedi is getting Revenge of the Sith's name.
Yes.
Okay.
So here's the thing: I know that that on that side, the transfer for the sequel film might be a bit weaker, but think of The Last Jedi as a name for 3. We have technically one Jedi left who actually still practices because Yoda quit and went into exile. All the other Jedi are dead because Order 66, or at least most of them, the ones that the main movies are going to follow. We have Obi-Wan left. Granted, not the best pick for a Jedi, but he's the last one. And it shows it's almost left in a bigger wake because we had a Jedi betray the Jedi. We had Anakin stop being a Jedi, said the Jedi are evil, and become a Sith. Obi-Wan truly is the last Jedi in that moment. Yoda's left him. All the others are dead, right? Almost rightfully so for some of them. And I get it. The sequel transfer might be a little bit bad, but there's one Jedi left. And even if you don't want to call it Obi-Wan, it's the birth of Luke at the very end of the movie.
All right.
enough.
Next question. I'm going to start with Sean again because I did the other funny one with Matt first. Sean, this is it. This or that question. Who is hotter in Episode 3, Anakin or Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan, that beard, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said about a man with a nice beard. And I'm sorry, but that's the man I'd let take me out on Republic City at night.
Matt, who's hotter between Anakin and Obi-Wan in Episode
It's
3?
100% Anakin.
No.
Are you kidding me?
Have you seen that haircut?
I want a man who you can tell that they've been through some
That's a
shit.
soundbite right there.
All right? I want a man you can tell. He's got a scar. He's got an arm cut off. You can tell that this guy is a warrior and that this guy is going to make sure that you're taken care of.
He's too busy
Obi-Wan-
crying about his ex-girlfriend,
Plus,
though.
Anakin, that hair, the way he's able to fight with his lightsaber, the way that he's able to give that, like, those smoldering eyes, like, ooh.
It's
You mean
spice
those-
versus nice.
You mean those?
Oh, yeah.
You mean those bloodshot
I would-
yellow rings he's got? Ugh.
Obi-Wan is a nice guy. Yeah, he's the guy you want to take out. We're talking hot.
At least-
Anakin is hot. in
He
Revenge
is,
of
at
the
least.
Sith.
He's,
All right, Sean,
he's definitely
rebuttal.
hot. But he's definitely hot, but at least I can go on walks with my man. I can go on walks with my man.
Jesus.
And hey, look,
You can take her.
there's
you can take
way
him home. You
I can take him home.
God.
There's way too much anger in that man. What the hell is that haircut? There's too much baggage there. Plus, he's too busy crying over Padme. He's gonna have no time for you. You're the crutch in that relationship.
We're just talking about who's hotter.
Obi-Wan,
You're not talking about taking him out on a date.
Well,
Jesus.
fair enough. But I'm saying, Obi-Wan, look at this man. He has that fresh face. It's well groomed. He's standing there. He's confident with every step. He knows every step that takes a movie. He needs a purpose.
How many more do we have? by the
These
way?
only 2 left, and these last 2 are going to be tough. Matt,
That was tough. Are you kidding me?
Matt.
That was hard.
you can make one solo film set between The Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. What is it about?
Wait, like an anthology film?
Uh-huh.
Oh, shit.
Like a solo or a Rogue One. Has to be between episode 1 and 3.
So, like, within the prequels.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God.
Tough.
I got my answer.
F you.
Disney Plus comes out with this next year. What is it?
I would have a show or a movie.
Film. It has to be a solo film, yeah.
Was Count Dooku... Did Count Dooku betray the Jedi Order before Phantom Menace?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'm going to pretend that he did.
Okay.
He betrayed the Jedi Order after Phantom Menace, so I'm going to make a Count Dooku backstory movie.
Ooh, what would you call it? Dooku?
A Star Wars story. No, I would call it like... do I have to pitch the title too?
No, you don't have to, because Sean, it's your turn.
No, I would make a Dooku origin story of how he was a Jedi and how he fell to the dark side and what he saw incorrectly, and then that would
Maybe
also...
why the Separatists
Yes,
left?
and then that would be a nice tie-in to give more backstory to the Separatists of like why they're actually Separatists and why they're doing the things they're doing.
It's
Plus,
not you,
That's
it's
a
me.
character that had a very little care given to him in episodes 2 and 3. He could use something like that.
I like it.
I'm gonna go.
Sean,
Dooku.
go ahead.
Picture this with me, all right?
Oh my God.
Picture this.
Are we hopping on your train of thought?
Yes.
All right.
Really, you open in the winds of a desert somewhere, an unnamed planet. Doesn't matter where it is. Winds whip. Some figure walks into the screen wearing maybe a little bit of tribal armor, carrying a staff or two. Just this desert kind of individual wanders over the hill, and maybe there's a raiding party or bandits or something that's there to disrupt his path forward. Mercilessly slaughters them. The hand reaches down, humanoid-ish, but you just hear somewhere off echoing in the distance as if a foreshadowing of the future, a fine addition to my collection. We see the eyes of Grievous before he's a cyborg. We see a Grievous...
Before he's
No. We see we see Grievous. We see Grievous's story of how he ends up with Dooku, how he ends up influencing the war
he made?
effort. No, he's a cyborg. Remember that?
Oh, I
That's
didn't know
what
that.
they rip open the chest and shoot him in the heart in Obi-Wan's fight. He's a cyborg. What happened? Why did he forego humanoid flesh for the safety of machine? Why was he used as a war instrument
Right.
underneath
So
of
you'd make a
Dooku?
Grievous movie, you'd make a Dooku
Picture
movie.
it. There's black screen, and in desert-looking text, The Collector, a Star Wars
Wow.
story.
Okay,
Alright,
I want to say one thing. Dooku did do that because he fell to the dark side after Maul died and Sidious needed a new apprentice, and he was
So convenient.
He learned that he was secretly the Sith Lord, and he turned to the dark side and replaced Darth Maul. So yes, mine does count because it did take place after Phantom Menace. Mine is better though because at least Dooku is a integral part of those movies. He leads a movement. He leads the Separatist movement. Grievous is kind of an afterthought. He's only in episode 3. He dies halfway through. He kind of dies unceremoniously. He's really never a threat. He kind of just runs the whole time and never really actually fights. And when he does fight, he gets all of his arms cut off and then shot in the chest and is called uncivilized. I think Count Dooku would I think that movie would be a lot better, and it would give a already pre-existing great character even more
Last thing
backstory.
he ever heard was do it.
Perhaps you are right, Matt, but here's the thing. Look at Grievous. We don't know why he became the machine. We don't know why. And
But do
here's
we
the thing.
care?
We don't. Maybe not. But here's the thing. Why did the Jedi whisper his name in fear? Why was he famous? Why did he get all those lightsabers? Think of each life he took. Maybe we could see a little bit of why the Jedi were stressed going into those movies. Maybe we could see a little bit of the terror the Jedi felt. Paint the Jedi as hunted down victims versus
Could be
these
good. I
self-righteous.
think both of our choices
pricks.
are interesting.
I have to cut you off.
Okay.
Because we do have one last question, and it's for Matt first.
Why is it for me first? The last one's for me first. Too.
No, the last one was for you.
No, I answered my
It was-
Dooku
yeah.
one first.
He did answer Dooku first, but it's still your
It's
choice.
fine. Give it
He's
to me.
ref.
Oh, I'll still hit you with it.
All right.
Replace George Lucas as writer and director with anyone else in the industry of your choice for the prequel trilogy.
He already has his answer. I can tell.
I'm thinking.
I need to think about this for a second. J.J. No, not J.J. Abrams. Shit.
This one is a brain.
I want to make sure I answered this correctly because this is like what's going to be heard by many people.
You're on the record.
I know. Yeah, this is not off the record. This is very much on the record. If you whoever answers first, if you have one, you say it first.
No, you go. You go.
Because I don't know if I have one.
You go.
Screw you.
How about D&D from Game of Thrones? They couldn't do worse. I don't think they could.
They couldn't do worse. They couldn't do worse.
I'm sorry for all
They
this
don't have
dead
to
air.
end anything. I think it's a viable option.
All right, I am going to go with. Does it have to be someone that was working during the time?
No, anyone. Dead,
Past, present,
alive,
future.
yeah.
Denis Villeneuve.
All right, fill us in. Why? Who is
Okay.
that?
Denis Villeneuve, if for those of you who do not know, is the director of multiple great films: Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, the upcoming Dune movie. He's also the director of Prisoners and Sicario, also great movies. He has shown that he can make great original content and that he can also add to a great pre-existing franchise. Literally the prequels. Original content, but adding to a franchise. You saw his great originality with Arrival. His sci-fi, his imagery, the way that he's able to craft great characters. He would bring that to the prequels. He would give those characters great arcs. He would give those characters great relationships. And also add fantastic visuals. And then there's the whole argument of, well, it's a pre-existing franchise. How's he going to fit in? Many people would argue that Blade Runner 2049 is on par with, if not better than the original. Blade Runner 2049 was a great movie.
Yes.
And he would add so much lore to that. Even, he would probably do similar, maybe not the same world building of Lucas, because I don't know if there's anybody on the
You had to
planet
replace him, yeah.
better than world building as with George Lucas. But for writing, for visuals, for directing, he is great. And he's also, I don't know if he's as much of a accomplished writer, but he has been writing credit on most of his movies with other people. He's not a writer-director.
Okay.
He's a director that writes with others. So I guess that's my only flaw, but just as a visionary standpoint,
Yes.
I would go with Denis Villeneuve.
All right, Sean.
I've got kind of a little bit for some of the same reasons, but not modern.
If you say Ryan Johnson, I'm going.
No, I'm not going to say Ryan
I was
Johnson.
gonna say Ryan Johnson.
Really?
But
He
I'm
def-
not part of this.
He definitely crossed my mind, but I was like, no, I don't want to steal from another one of the movies. I've got an interesting one, and I don't know how exactly to point out, but I've got faith in the man. I would get, in his prime, Steven Spielberg. And here's the reason. What was the one thing we did say that was a problem for a lot of kids going into the prequels? It's politics and adult things. We all as kids want to see the lightsaber fights and the fantasticalness of the original trilogy in those movies when we were a kid.
You want Indiana Jones.
We want Indiana Jones. I want some magic in my Star Wars. And look at Steven Spielberg. Indiana Jones. We've got Jaws. We've got little things like that. There's magic. There's a reason that you're freaked out in the moments of Jaws. There's a reason why you love the sound of the whip crack in Indiana Jones. There's magic behind that. There's a little bit of a subtle nod to it. And what is the Force? Subtle. You see it used in little ways. At least in this point in our lives as experiencing Star Wars, you see rocks move. You see levers switch. And that is the kind of subtle magic that needed to have been brought to those movies. He makes games, cartoons, movies, all that for families and kids. And that's what Star Wars needed a bit of. Less politics, less adult, more, where's my fantastic knight with the sword?
All right, any last remarks?
I like that pick. I was actually thinking about doing Spielberg, but I wanted to go a little off the board because I feel like that was a bit of I feel like yours is a very safe pick.
I think both would be better than George Lucas in the prequels.
Well, yeah, I think both would too. But I think yours is a bit of a safe pick, and plus, he's done franchises before, and yeah, they succeeded, but like, I don't want Star Wars to feel like Indiana Jones. I want Star Wars to feel like Star Wars. I want Star Wars to feel something different. And Denis Villeneuve has shown that he can take franchises and keep continuity, but also make it feel like its own thing. And I feel like that would be a lot better than just taking a guy who's done multiple different things and has his hats in multiple different projects. He would be so sidetracked with making all these other movies, whereas Denis Villeneuve is an artist. He only focuses on what he's doing. That's why he's taking so much time making Dune right now. He wants to make it perfect. Steven Spielberg would be doing a movie every other year in between Star Wars and be really, really sidetracked. He'd be making the BFG or whatever. Whereas Denis Villeneuve is an artist. He focuses on one thing. He makes his craft perfect. I'd argue he hasn't even made a bad film yet.
Perhaps you're right. Perhaps.
Well, that's
Good
all,
fight.
folks.
Good fight. Very good fight.
It was It was not as bloody as I'd like. You guys are too professional.
So, we are going to post polls probably about 2 days after this episode comes out for everyone to listen to them, that wants to listen to them, and we'll post polls on Instagram, and we'll have you guys vote on who won each argument, and then we'll reveal the results.
I want to hear people's answers to the questions, too.
And and we'll also ask you guys answers.
Yes, we will list these questions, and we want to hear your thoughts.
Good questions, Connor.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Bravo.
So Connor, we'll have you on for Bloodbath multiple more times.
Oh,
I think.
good.
Because those are the kind of questions I think. Those are the questions we're looking for.
Yeah. Those kinds of arguments are definitely what we want to see in the show. And granted, I promise, at least on my end, if we want blood, I'll try to be a little less professional this time.
It's just that your questions were actually really, really thoughtful. If it was more along the lines of who's hotter on Anakin and Obi-Wan for the entire thing.
Oh, yeah, that was a little bloodier, so yeah.
It was a little bloodier. And it was...
I like the insights, though.
My thing, though, especially with that last question, I really wanted to make sure I was answering very educatedly.
Yes. Same with me. And
I wanted to make sure I was on the record with a good answer. Absolutely. I didn't want to throw like a Michael Bay or something like that.
Absolutely.
Could be fun, though.
No.
All right.
No, we'd have like racist jokes in Star Wars. If
Oh.
Michael Bay did that.
But even so, to kind of close us out, I can't even speak. To close us out, we do want to share one last little bit of a ranking, as it is our trademark. The group of us have gotten together. We've talked about those terrible lines of dialogue that have been turned into countless memes and jokes over the decades. So we've all put together a list of 5 of our favorite memeable lines from the prequels, and we'll go pretty quick since there's a total of 15 here.
Yeah, and we can just rattle them off. Literally, we'll just do 5 through 2.
There's no arguments. There's no defense here. They're just all bad.
Honestly,
we know
these are probably all great picks. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're probably so overlapped.
Yeah. All right, Sean, you can start if you want.
Oh, I'm going first.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we should let guests go first.
Yes.
Okay. All right,
Where
Connor.
are your table manners?
He just served as a wonderful referee. Let's let the
all
man
right.
have his turn.
So
as
I'm starting with my number 5, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
My number 5 is I have the high ground. My number 4, there's always a bigger fish. It's a good one. I'd rather it be higher, but number 3, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. So, like, you could use that in so many situations. Number 2, this is where the fun begins. Mostly because I have lots of experience with beating on young children. No, but could be fun.
Am I going next? We do have a lot of...
By all means, go, man.
My number 5 is... I'm going to try to do them in the voices, because I didn't. So number 5 is... I love democracy. I love the Republic.
Oh, boy.
Number 4 is... I'll try spinning. That's a good trick. My number 3 is also a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. And then my number 2... is one that's actually not memed on a lot, but I laugh every time. We actually referenced this earlier. It's when Anakin jumps out of the car and Obi-Wan goes, I hate it when he does that.
Even though he just did that.
Like, is Anakin jumping out of cars from really high up what Obi-Wan hates?
It happens all the time.
Like, is that what he hates?
I think so.
I hate it when he does
Hates
that.
falling.
How often does he do that?
Exactly. Is it like a common
I want to
thing?
see a blooper reel of Anakin jumping off of things.
I hate it when he does that. Alright, your turn.
Alright, my 5. My 5th one is the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
That's from episode 9. What are you talking about?
No, it's from 3. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. I'll Dark Knight this again. I will.
It is from episode 9. Because he literally, all of Palpatine's lines in that movie are just directly quoting Vengeance.
They are. But I liked it in context of the original, and I'm keeping it here at number 5. My number 4 was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
We all had that one.
Number 3 was one that never gets memed on, but after hearing it again recently, I realize it's too good. It is from Governor C.O. Bibble. A communications disruption could mean only one thing: invasion.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Bad cell signal? It's an invasion. My number 2 is hello there, response with General Kenobi. I love that asthmatic robot so much.
Love that.
And then, of course, my final one is you were my brother, Anakin. I loved you.
Nice.
I'm gonna say the invasion one every time my Wi-Fi cuts off.
What's your number
It's
one?
an invasion!
My number one is, of course, hello there.
Yeah. And then my number one, I actually didn't have hello there.
Oh, I skipped. I said my number one.
My number one is one that Connor had already, because it's my favorite one. Because there is always a bigger fish.
Bigger fish. I knew it.
I saw that coming a mile away.
I just love the scene when the fish eats the bigger fish eats the fish out, and then it just cuts back into the ship and all the music drowns out. It's just quiet and going, there's always a bigger fish.
Maybe the bigger fish was a Sith Lord.
A Sith Lord? Are you sure? Absolutely. And our worst fears have been realized.
Yep.
And also, an honorable mention, I think we all can agree that I don't like sand.
Yes.
It's coarse.
You can't.
It's rough,
You
it's
can't
irritating.
choose it because it's above all the other ones.
It gets
It's in its own tier.
Because it describes the prequel.
Now this.
Yes.
Now this is pod racing.
This is pod racing. And with that, that is the end of our show. Like we said, we're going to put up some polls. We're going to ask these questions that we got asked tonight to you all. I'm also curious to see. We'll throw up a little question on those polls as well. Who can tell me what my drink this evening was from? I was drinking Slusho this evening.
Yes.
So credit to whoever can guess that right. There's no prize, but we just want to see how much of pop culture you guys know.
You'll get a shout out on next episode.
Yeah, you'll get a shout out on who can tell me where Slusho comes from.
I think I speak for both Sean and I that we just want to thank our wonderful guest here, Connor. Let's give him a nice round of
Absolutely.
Thank you.
A wonderful addition, and he'll be back for many more.
Yes.
And even
I
if
believe actually you already have all of your questions for each of the other Star Wars Bloodbaths. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes. So we
And
plan
other
on having.
things that you've said you've had plans.
Yeah,
So,
so for all of our Everything is Fine universe listeners, what we're planning on doing is over the next 5 episodes, including this one, we will do each trilogy on an every other week schedule. So next episode after this will be something else entirely, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Then the episode after that will be the original trilogy. Then there'll be another week of another topic. And then I believe that final episode will be the sequel trilogy. And that will also include Rogue One and Solo. And in that episode, we'll be ranking all the movies. Which will be very, very fun.
yes,
So
we'll have another original trilogy specific list for the next Star Wars themed episode.
and Connor will be on all of those
Connor
Star
will
Wars
be on with
episodes.
them, and we may also have additional guests along with Connor because we
Yes.
know several people who are very passionate about the different
know what I have
trilogies.
to do,
but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. But even so, and Connor, of course, will be around. Connor may not be a guest on every single episode, but if me and Matt ever want to have an excuse to try and strangle each other, we'll pull Connor in for an end segment of Bloodbath once in a while.
And also, if you are listening and you have a topic that you would love to talk to us about, and you want to host your very own Bloodbath and come in with your own questions, please reach out to us. Because as much as we love Connor, we also want to get all of your input and all of your questions on the table.
Yeah.
So if you also want to have judge a Bloodbath session with Sean and I, if you liked what you heard tonight, feel free
Yes.
to reach out to us.
And we all know you all have your own opinions, and you've taken the time to share them with us via on Instagram, on YouTube. We've been reading those comments, and we love every single one of them. I will say, though, the hilarity of last week's comments off of the Pixar episode, it sounded like a class of Quidditch prep with everyone shouting up. So,
as it should be.
As it should be, and we apologize for that. Up is phenomenal. It just didn't make it for those lists.
Yeah.
But even so, we would love to have more guests on the show. We want to know what you guys want us to talk about, what you would like to have us fight over. And if you have an idea or if you want to be a guest, reach out to us. We've already got a few people waiting in the wings, and we're excited to expand this wonderful family we got going.
Absolutely. And Connor, once again, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
It means the world to us. So yes, thank you all for listening to this 3rd episode of the Everything is Fine podcast. Thank you to Connor for joining us once again. Our first guest spot, I think, went very well. And yeah, I believe that pretty much does it for the Star Wars prequel episode.
So yeah, we thank you, everyone, and and of course,
Just remember, no matter how crazy life gets, everything is fine.